Hello and welcome to the Runna Podcast. On today's episode, we are joined by the incredible Anna Sitar. She is one of the biggest content creators online, an incredible podcast host, and now marathon runner. She talks us through her journey into fitness, starting out through swimming, finding triathlon, and then running. She went on to run her first marathon, Honolulu Marathon, in December of last year, and is now just 4 days out from her third marathon. She talks us through everything she's learned along the way, how she stays motivated, and what she's got to look forward to next. You're going to love today's episode. Hey Anna, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I am very good. I guess context for all of our listeners, we are here in New York and we are 4 days out from the New York Marathon, which we will come on to talking about. But before we do, I'd love to rewind to where you started, maybe your active journey. What got you into moving your body back on day one?
Yeah, I feel like day one, I'm a swimmer at my core. I started swimming in high school, which was a little bit late. I think most kids probably started in middle school, but I tried a couple sports before then. I tried volleyball, not very good at volleyball. I tried tennis and I was okay. But for some reason, swimming, I loved that it was an individual and a team sport. You were kind of had this chance to grow and be good at your own lane and in your own spot, but also had the chance to watch your whole team succeed when everyone's collective effort came together. So I was a swimmer in high school and at the beginning of my college career, and then I had an injury. I tore my ACL in a Zumba class. So that got rid of me doing any movement for a little while, but I actually ended up just going to PT instead of getting surgery and became a Zumba instructor. It was full circle. And so I taught Zumba classes at my college for 3 years almost. And then more recently, I've gotten into doing triathlons and running. And that's been kind of my core workouts in adulthood.
Wow. That feels like a really exciting kind of roller coaster journey. What is it about, like, I guess in the pool, what was it that like you enjoyed that kept you turning up? Was it, you mentioned not being good at volleyball. Was it that you were good at swimming, or what was it about the swimming itself?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I think it was that I could see myself getting better every time I got in the water, and also there's something so therapeutic about it. It's silent in the ocean or in the pool, and honestly, there's just this consistency there where you will see growth every time you do it. It's the littlest tweaks of the way that your hand enter the water, or how your stroke changes, or how quickly your cadence is, that allows for you to be better. I actually was an IMer also, so that's an individual medley, which is all 4 strokes. So I did 200, so it's down and back, and it went fly back breast swim, which is normal freestyle. Yeah. And I really enjoyed just the dynamic of it, of having all the different strokes and the chance to have that long to prove myself. And I knew my strengths, I knew my weaknesses. But I think what kept me coming back was that and the community. It was like an all-girls sport where it was all women that hung out together for 3 hours after school, and was very positive and feel good, and a lot of cheering, and everyone was on the sidelines. If you weren't in the pool, your hands were in the air and your voice was raised to get everybody else going.
I think it's amazing that you kind of like cite within the swimming, you enjoyed the silence, because as a person who does triathlon and swims relatively badly within my triathlon, I find swimming like the most boring of the three, because you can't talk to anyone. No. Most of the time in the pool is looking at kind of tiles on the bottom of the pool, which isn't so interesting. And that's not something that you get with running and cycling, where you can see the outdoor world. Yeah. And at the same time, it's also harder to have that like connection with people because you can't talk to them. Yeah. Is that something that you like have found change as you found running and moved towards triathlon as well?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because I'm definitely an extroverted person. I'm definitely outgoing. I love being with people, but I feel like it's almost a different kind of communication. When I remember being on a team for swimming, it was, you would circle swim, so kind of take off and make a circle in the pool with your like flip turns each time rotating. And I feel like you were still communicating with all the girls around you as you're swimming, whether it was like touching the feet in front of you to like let them know that you were right behind them, or when you got to the wall, you kind of all got a breather where you're like, holy crap, are we okay? There was still like little mundane moments, but I feel like the silence was almost like therapeutic and elegant and fluid. And that's what I really enjoyed, was just those moments. And I feel like for running, when I run, especially more recently, I've started running without headphones, which also feels kind of quiet. Even though I'm like just so aware of the world around me, it's also that same therapeutic. Sometimes I think the headphones are overstimulating. It's kind of nice to just listen to the other runners, listen to your footsteps, hear the cars going by or the signs changing.
Before you find your running, you found Zumba.
I did. Yeah, I was a dance fitness instructor, which was definitely my highest energy sport, I would say.
And what took you in that direction?
I think, once again, that community sense, it was almost like a party every week. And I needed a job in college that kind of let me do something that I enjoyed and was a little bit more creative again. So I choreographed all the dances that I did for my Zumba classes, and I ended up teaching classes of 70 college students. Pretty much every week I would sell out pretty often my classes at Western. And it was so much fun because you had regulars, you had people who consistently came. There was such a rhythm to it in not only the dancing sense, but I knew the songs that I liked to do. Everybody kind of like became familiar with it. And I think it was a great way to like connect through movement.
And this is all the while doing your mechanical engineering?
Yep, all while doing a mechanical engineering with a focus in biomed.
Wow.
I was a busy girl. I have so many weird jobs. I feel like all throughout my college career, I had so many random hobbies. Like, even though I did engineering and was so science focused, I was in an a cappella group in college, and I taught Zumba, and I was a substitute teacher, and I part-time worked for the engineering firm that I had, was kind of like studying and planning to work for after college. So I feel like I liked my time filled, and I liked having routine and ritual and things to do.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you're so busy that then it's actually really interesting that you cite enjoying the peace and quiet of swimming and then running as well.
Maybe it makes it check out. Like, it makes more sense now a little bit.
Almost giving you a little bit of space away from that crazy life.
Maybe I'm less extroverted than I thought I was, you know?
And so what is it that then led you from Zumba to finding running?
Yeah, I actually feel like I almost took a break from sports after I graduated from college. I didn't have the same level of accessibility to them, I don't think, once I got into adulthood. Swimming was a little harder to find, and swimming's a unique sport where if you run, you can kind of fit it into your day. Swimming feels like it has to be a planned adventure for you. Like, you have to pack your swim bag and get into the water, and then you're covered in chlorine, and then you have to get out and shower again and get ready. And so swimming was kind of something where I almost dreaded the process of going to the swim once I was older. But when about 2 years ago, how long? Oh, about a year ago. Wow, this is way more recent than I thought it was. In August of last year, a close friend of mine was doing triathlons in California. And she was like, I think you and your brother would be so good at these, because we had the swimming background. We're both like pretty naturally athletic people. I love to go surfing. I love to go for walks. So she was like, we should try doing a triathlon together. And I'm doing this sprint try. It's almost like a super sprint in Santa Barbara, where it was a 500-yard swim, a 6-mile bike, and a 2-mile run. Super quick. Like, when I did the math for what I thought I could do, I was like, I can do this in under an hour. This is great. So she kind of recommended that we try it. And on a whim, I went and bought a road bike from REI the night before the race. I went for my first open water swim the day before the race. So the day before was my prep day. I swam and bought a road bike and learned how to like literally ride it around Marina Del Rey in California. And then I was like, and then running, second nature, I can run. Like, I've run before, I can do it again. So we went to the Santa Barbara Tri. I was so nervous. I had not had that energy of being in a race sense. And also, once you're an adult, I don't think you really put yourself in as many situations to be uncomfortable. And this was for sure one where I just didn't know what to expect. There were all these rails. I didn't even know how to hang my bike on the rail. I didn't know how to set up my transition. There were kids running around that I had no doubt were going to be 10 times as fast as me and were a quarter of my age. And so in this moment, I was like, wow, this is actually kind of exciting to see this many people at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday ready to do this activity. And by the end of that race, I think I like truly fell in love with doing triathlons. And it was just like in an instant. It reminded me of the diversity that I had from doing the 200 IMs when I was in high school. It reminded me of just the chance to like try new things, which is such like a core value of mine, is just exploring things that I've never done before. And this gave me the chance to do biking and swimming and running. And each time that I reset and went to the transition area, it felt like my whole body reset and got so excited for a new activity. So I kind of just fell in love with the chance to do something that's totally out of my comfort zone, but also made me feel so at home.
And I think like part of being out of your comfort zone is like a new challenge.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an element that like having swam for a long time means that it becomes repetitive? It's the same routine, taking yourself to the pool, and part of it is also finding that new challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think open water swimming is so different than pool swimming. Prior to this, I had never open water swam. So I had only ever been in a pool, and I loved that portion of it. That's like what brought me a lot of joy. But being in the open water was just exactly a new challenge. Having people next to you, I am very used to having my own lane and like a good 2 feet on either side of me where no one else was going to touch me. And so there was even this just excitement of being so close to everyone, and like, I'm naturally a competitive person, mostly with myself. It's like an interesting thing where I want to do well because I want to outshine what I've done in the past, and I want to continue to grow and develop. But having all those people who are also pushing themselves just almost like invigorated me even more.
Yeah, it's definitely a dynamic that it takes getting used to when you swim in a triathlon, and there are people who bump into you and swim on top of you and all of that stuff.
Totally. I've heard the Ironmans are even crazier too. Like, this was a small local one. How did you feel during the Ironmans having so many people at the start line?
Well, I've done a few Ironman, and like I think like it varies based on how busy the course is and how many times you like swim around a buoy. But it's definitely been times where I've had someone a bit fast who started behind me and pretty much swam over the top of me, which isn't probably a good way to encourage people into triathlon, but definitely takes a bit of getting used to. So how did that first triathlon go, and like what were your thoughts afterwards?
Oh my gosh, it went great in my brain. I did do it in under an hour, which was lovely. I think I did in like 58 minutes or so just under the hour. And weirdly enough, my favorite part was the run, which is actually probably my least experienced of the three. I kind of grew up bike ride. Actually, you're gonna judge me, but I grew up unicycling, not bike riding. Yeah, it was a choice.
I think that
was a choice.
That marries up with your kind of extrinsic nature that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, exactly. Like it was something fun. It was a good conversation starter.
Would you do a triathlon on a unicycle?
Literally never. Only because it's
slow,
it's
right?
an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Like, it's with the unicycle, you're connected to the wheel.
Yeah.
Your pedals are, so you only go as fast as you can pedal, versus on a bike, obviously you have the gears and you can change through it. So, I mean, maybe if I did the Santa Barbara, but 6 miles on a unicycle is a long time.
Yeah.
With biking, I wasn't that nervous, but for the run, I wasn't expecting to have enjoyed it, because I feel like running, when I think of running, I think of the beep test. Do you have the beep test when you were younger? Okay.
I think the bleep test is like a universal form of torture for children.
Good to know. Good to know. I wasn't sure that was a public school thing in the Midwest. But so we had like the bleep test, which was, I feel like, traumatizing. I remember we always had the mile run where we had like a track at the high school, and we would have to go do the 4 laps around the track, and it was like they would lay you, like, tell everybody what their times were, and it was like, you know, your health checkup. But those always like made me nervous about running, and I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I just knew there was something about swimming that I enjoyed a little bit more, and just it came more naturally. But for some reason at the end of that Olympic or the sprint try, I fell in love with the run portion of that, and I wasn't expecting it. It was really, there's something relaxing about it. There was something where even when I was tired, I was like, just get to the next palm tree, or just get to the next stop sign, or just get to the next interval. And then before you knew, we were turning around, and I was like, okay, I just have to make it back. And to me, that was so easy to just say, okay, even though my brain doesn't want to keep going, my legs are going to.
Yeah. And I guess also like the endurance that comes from having done a few hours for a pool session actually makes doing a 2-3 mile run not feel so daunting.
Exactly. You can actually breathe during it, like all the usual stuff.
You do the triathlon, you do your 2 mile run. And did it make you want to run again?
Yeah, it did. Actually, it's what inspired our first marathon. So my little brother also did that sprint triathlon with me. And at the end of it, I told him, I was like, the run was my favorite part of that whole race. And he was like, that's so crazy to say that, because me too. We should do a marathon. And I was like, I just ran 2 miles. That's very different from doing 26. That's a very different course length too. And so he was like, I think we could do it. Like, there's one in Honolulu where it's as large as a major, but it's no qualifying time. You have all day to finish it. We did a bunch of research that apparently the vibes are very immaculate. They're very like, people's grandmas walk the whole thing. It's very nice. And so he's like, we should just plan a vacation to Hawaii and go do this little marathon.
And what a destination for a first marathon.
Perfect destination. Also, like, yeah, my mom and dad were very down to go to Hawaii to watch it. They had at the beginning of the race a 10K. So you ran with the 10K runners, and then the 10K broke off and the marathon continued on. With that, my mom and dad were like, oh, we'll run the 10K with you. And like, we'll come experience it also. So my boyfriend, my mom, my dad, one of my best friends was there with us to cheer us on, the friend who had gotten us into triathlons ended up actually just coming with us on all these races. So she came along and she was like, I'll also do the 10K. And so my whole family did the 10K.
And you ran that section together?
We ran that, not all together.
Okay.
Me, my brother, my boyfriend stayed together. And then my friend Danielle stayed with my mom, actually.
Okay.
And my dad, who has never run a day in his life, morning of the 10K decides he's going to run the whole 10K. And he did, which is like also insane. He was like, oh yeah, I just like started running and suddenly I liked it. So I didn't stop. And now my dad is officially into running, which is very wholesome. I feel like he's been inspired by our marathon journey. But once we did that Honolulu Marathon, that was like one of those pivotal moments where I think that was my maximum brain power I could have put into a marathon. Like that's where I truly felt like what was a runner's high? Like what did grit feel like? Like what did it feel like to want something and actually question if you were able or capable or wonder if you had it in your body to achieve something? And I feel like it was just a catalyst to my athletic journey, truly. Like it was already a lot to get there and to like have the faith in myself that I could run that far at all. But then to finish it, I like will never forget coming up to that finish line at that race. And I remember crying and just saying to my brother, like, I can't believe that we made it back.
I did the same Honolulu Marathon that you did that day.
Yeah.
And you really chose an added challenge than just doing a marathon.
Yeah.
Because it was extremely hot and humid in Honolulu. And it's also not a flat marathon by any means. You basically run up and out and kind of round a bit of a volcano almost. And that really adds to the level of challenge. What was the goal? Like, obviously, it's a huge jump to go from this shorter triathlon to the marathon. Was it that you wanted to finish, or like what was? And also, did you go into it thinking, I want to do a marathon and say I've done a marathon and not do it again, or like, could you imagine that it would have led to now you're June 4 days out from your third marathon?
No, I would have never imagined that it would. And even when I crossed that finish line, I remember finishing it being like, that is hands down the hardest thing I've ever done. I think the biggest goal was just to finish. I think we both were aware of that. Something that I really learned about myself was running slower. I think that's a misconception that I had. I thought a good run was 8-minute miles, like hands down. So anytime I had run before, I really only lasted a mile or two at 8-minute miles. And then I was like, oh, I'm gassed. Like I can't do this anymore. Versus I'm pretty sure my split for the Honolulu Marathon was like a 10:30, but it was just have to survive it. And I think our goal too was not to walk at any point.
Yeah.
It was stay moving the whole time. Don't have to walk. And also I think a big thing for me too was like no injuries and like I don't want to have too much pain during it. My worst pain I had was I got a Charlie horse in one of my hamstrings when I was running. And that was like the worst thing I had for 5 miles, but I ran through it and then it went away or went numb, one or the other. But so yeah, finishing it I think was the biggest goal, especially for that first one. And to like enjoy the day. That's a marathon that I really remember. Like there's kind of this joke. I feel like I kind of like black out during some of the marathon. And on this one, it was like mile 17 to 22. But I will never forget hearing when you get up the hill at like mile 23 or 24, you're kind of coming up that hill. There was a woman standing right at the top of it who was like, once you get up these last 100 feet, it's downhill from here. And once I heard that, I feel like it like woke me up again where I was like, oh my God, I've made it. Like I even if I have to roll down this hill, I'm here. And so, yeah, I think like the biggest goal being finishing it and then even achieving that at whatever time it was, just felt huge. It felt, yeah, like the biggest thing I've done.
Yeah, I think for anyone running a marathon is an incredible achievement. And what did it take to train for that marathon in terms of like, how did you go from running 2 miles to running 26 miles?
Yeah, this was also, it's so funny. This is pre me knowing that Runna existed as like an app to help me with my training. So for my brother and I, we both just agreed we would run as often as we can, as much as we can, whenever we can. There was no like, no set schedule. And I travel pretty often for work too. And I also knew this going into something I think like, this is a little bit of like a sidebar to my running journey. I think like at this moment in time in my life, I really struggle with knowing I'm a content creator full time and I came from doing mechanical engineering first and a master's in film and television production. So I came from I'm very school system. I did 7 years of college. So a lot of my background is like, you know when you're doing well. You're being graded on doing well. You have A's and B's, and when you're online and on social media, especially at the beginning, you know you're doing well when you're growing, when your content's doing great. You know that there's like these pillars that you can achieve, but I've been doing social media for now almost 5 years, and you kind of get to a point where it's like, we had kind of talked about this for a moment outside of this room, like the goalpost is always moving and that still feels consistent even in the workplace and even in social media. That for me, achieving this marathon was one of those things of proving to myself that I can do it, and doing it, period, was good. And so for that, the training too went in hand with that, where it was like every day, even if I didn't want to run, do something, move my body in some way. And I think from the beginning, I had never really run longer than 2 to 3. My first time that I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I could have any potential of doing a marathon, my brother was like, just run really slow and see how far you can go for. I ran 10-minute miles and ran 9 miles the first time I tried. And I was like, whoa, that was like an hour and a half of my time. And I was like, this is crazy. I cannot believe that I went that far. And for some reason, right off the get-go, I was like, if I could do that 3 more times, I'm pretty close to a marathon, I'm pretty sure. So that's what kind of gave me the confidence to start trying. My goal was honestly perfecting the 10K, which I think is interesting, feeling really comfortable in my first 6-mile run and having that kind of boost my confidence that 6 miles felt like a nice casual workout for me. So I ran 6 miles and 10Ks everywhere that I went. And then I tried every once a week to, once every 2 weeks doing a longer run. So that was anything over 10 miles then. And so I think like the biggest thing for me in my training was just getting out there and moving my body in some way, shape, or form. And the longest long run that I had done before Honolulu was 16 miles. That's the farthest I had gone. And so when it came to actually running Honolulu, I will never forget the switch flip that happened at mile 16, where I went, oh my God, this is the farthest I've ever run. What happens now?
And you've still got 10 miles to go then.
And I still had 10 miles to go. Yeah.
But you did it.
I did it, exactly.
And the best bit is you did it and enjoyed it enough to think about doing another one.
Exactly. I kind of, once I finished, I feel like people, I don't know if this is universal. I've been seeing jokes on social media about people saying this, where it's like they finish the marathon, they're like, I am never doing that again. And then 1 week later,
yeah,
they're
10 minutes, an hour a week. Like it's some unknown length of time. And it varies for everyone, but almost everyone gets to that point and then they forget about the misery they've just endured and they sign up for it all over again. It's like
childbirth or something, where they're like, you know what, I'll have another one.
What is it that makes you forget about that to then go on to do it again? Or are we just lying to ourselves that we don't want to do it again the moment we finish?
What do you think it is? Because I feel like 10 Ironmans is huge. So like, what do you think it is that like, what keeps you going back to marathons, or how many marathons have you done?
So I'm doing New York as well.
Yep.
It will be my 42nd time running the marathon distance, not marathon races, but that's including the times that I've run a marathon supporting a client in training or running a marathon in an Ironman.
That's incredible.
I think it's something that's very hard. Inherently, we don't like doing.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. But at the same time, anything that is hard is therefore satisfying.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can kind of like wrap our head around the fact that we got satisfaction, and I think satisfaction is like very different to having fun. Mm-hmm. Satisfaction like lasts. Like you do something satisfying today and you'll feel good for like hours or days or weeks. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you do something fun, like go and do like a fun game with your mates, like it's really fun, and then afterwards it's like it doesn't last as long. So I think that's the thing, is that like the satisfaction carries and you forget about the pain, which is the hard thing.
Yeah.
And like as soon as the pain, you forget about the pain and you've still got that satisfaction that lasts a while, is probably at the point where the bad loses to the good, and then you think, let's do it again.
Yeah. This was funnily familiar to the conversation we were having outside before we came into this.
So
where we're talking about our strategies for the New York Marathon.
Yeah, I want to come on to that. But before we do, you go from a December Honolulu Marathon to just 5 months later doing your second marathon in London.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It was amazing. I learned so much about myself. So in Honolulu, I ran right around like a 4:45 marathon time. And honestly, I still mean this like to this day, like the time doesn't matter as much to me. And it's still that like competitiveness with myself, where even when I entered London, my only goal was to go faster than what I did in Honolulu, whether it was 1 minute faster or 10 minutes faster. For London, I ended up running a 4:15, so 30 minutes faster than what I had run in Honolulu. And I trained with Runna for the process of those 5 months. I started in January and trained until the end of April. During that time, too, I completed my first Olympic length triathlon, which was a huge achievement. I was so proud of myself. That was actually like, it really started my month of April off with a massive confidence boost. Like, I remember finishing the run for the Olympic tri and being like, I could go for another 20 miles after that. Like, that was great. And so it really, I think it like instilled that little bit of like competitiveness, excitement, brought me a lot of joy and like made me feel really good. My whole family was there again. I actually did with my siblings, partners, and then their siblings as well. So it was a big group of us that did the Lava Man Tri in Kona, Hawaii, which is a portion of the Ironman course.
I think like being able to share this kind of like challenge, whether that being a triathlon, whether it being a marathon, and showing that the 10K within the marathon.
Yeah.
having that within friends, family, just makes it this like thing that feels so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, that was also the way I got into my like sporting and triathlon journey, sharing basically all the early 10Ks and triathlons I did with my dad.
Yeah.
And in a way, I think it's also because for you, particularly when you rewind back to your first finding of running, it was because you had to do it at school.
Yeah.
Whereas like wanting to go and do this triathlon, sharing that with the people that you love the most almost means you now associate the challenge with family in that way, which is just such a nice kind of association.
And like that you want to share the feeling of how good it feels to achieve it. I think that's like so beautiful, and like, yeah, it really brings you together. Like the training brings you together, the race day brings you together. I mean, even for New York Marathon, I have 14 family members coming out to watch us run. And so
you are popular. I have none.
Literally, okay. I'm only on number 3. Check on me when I'm on 30. You know what I mean? But so also the difference for London too, just kind of going back to that question of what was the difference between Honolulu and London. I feel like Honolulu, I crossed the finish line and said, I am never doing that again. And then a week later, I was like, I'm kind of feeling like going for a run right now. I think maybe I should start thinking about my marathon lineup, or like maybe if there's something else. And I kind of said to my brother, I was like, there's 2 marathons that I would love to do, and it's London and New York. And I right off the bat, leaving Honolulu, I was like, I would never do another unless it's London or New York. And funny enough, a week later, I found out that there was an opportunity to run London with Runna. And so I was like, oh, this is my moment. Like, this is a dream of mine to get to do this race. And so I trained. I did so well. I learned the word this week. I didn't know how to describe what happened to me at the London Marathon until this week. It's bonked.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
That's a great start to that. You know, everybody's like, oh, that's what happened to you.
I know if you were to try and describe like your London Marathon experience to someone who doesn't understand running terminology, you're like, yeah, I went to London, did the marathon, and I bonked. They'd be like, that sounds like a strange way to carry out a marathon, to do something else midway through. But,
exactly.
When did your bonk come on?
So get this. I trained taking my gels at mile 6 to 7 every single time that I had run a test run, and I felt great. And then I ran London, and I kind of was a little later than I wanted to be on my gels. I think I took them at like 6.5, 7, which I was kind of aiming to take them more at 6. I just was loving the crowd. It was right at the point where the 2 corrals merge, and I was like living in that moment and loving it. And I, at mile 8, lost all energy. Just something like I can't even explain in my body what happened. But for some reason, I had to shut my headphones off. I got like overstimulated with how loud the crowd was. And then it just felt like I was wearing cylinder blocks on my legs and like couldn't re-find that like energy in the pit of my stomach. And so I ran for a good 15 miles on what felt like zero fuel. Like I was taking gels. My brother passed me a caffeine gel. I tried that. And then I was like trying to eat my granola bar, but I wasn't feeling good. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to like breathe through it and keep running. And even with all of that included, I still ran an incredibly faster time than what I would even have imagined. But I think that moment when I finished London, I crossed the finish line. I said, I want to redo. Like the second I crossed the finish line, I was like, man, my body at no point got sore. My legs felt strong. I felt so good in my body during that run, but I just couldn't get that, that little bit of oomph that keeps you going during the race. And so I think leading into New York too, that gives me a little bit of almost like a smidgen of like a PTSD for that experience, for how hard it was. Like truly, it felt like my wall lasted from mile 8 until mile 24. And so it's a long time to be kind of in the dumps. And I remember there's so many moments of London that I get so bummed at myself that I missed, because I was just like in my brain saying, one foot in front of the other, keep going, keep racing. And I missed Big Ben. I didn't see Big Ben when I ran by it.
Wow.
I saw the London Eye and I went, how did I miss the other massive landmarks that hit in the city? But I was really focused and in my head about it, that I'm hoping for New York, I shake that. I hope that I shake when I get in my head thinking that I need to solve the problem on my own, versus taking a deep breath and opening myself up to the incredible energy of that day and letting that carry me through the marathon instead.
And I think it's like the energy that comes and the excitement in these huge cities with this huge crowd can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And almost then thinking about that for Sunday, try and stay calm through those opening miles and like let that charge you up and like don't use that battery almost until you kind of like get into the second half. Whereas it's so easy to like have a party for those first few miles and then you realize that you're like completely frazzled in your head and you've still
Yeah.
got a very long way to go.
Exactly. I think that's the thing too, is I don't know, do you cheer back to people who cheer your name when you're running in a marathon?
Well, I've started to get cheered more.
Okay, love.
As like more people train with Runner and
Yeah.
whatever. And then I have to like decide, like, do I want to have my name on my top or not?
Yep.
Because I think there's something that's very nice about anyone cheering you. And if you've got your name on your top and someone cheers your name, it powers you up.
Yep.
But if you don't have your name on your shirt and someone cheers you, then you know they're really
like,
cheering
you're
for
an
you.
MVP. Exactly.
So now I'm like, do I almost prefer not having my name? And then it means that if someone's cheering me, they really like care.
Yeah.
But either way, I think it like helps carry you so much. But at the same time, you also don't want to get that like little kick and adrenaline 100 times over.
Yep.
Because then you're going to
It'll wear
run out of
It's
adrenaline.
not the same. Exactly.
You mentioned that for London, you wanted to go a minute faster or a second faster and just improve on Hawaii.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal for Sunday? Marathon number
do.
3.
Yeah, marathon number 3. I think it'd be nice if on marathon number 3, the first number was a 3. I think
Okay.
that would be like a big dream. That's, you know how you have A, B, C goals?
Yeah.
I always am somebody who never really shares my A goals because I will be more mad at myself that I didn't achieve it than telling people and them knowing that I didn't achieve it. Because at the end of the day, I like remind myself what I started doing this for, which is what I said earlier. It's meant to be something that brings me joy. It's meant to be something that makes me feel like I have achieved it, whether I'm good or not good at it. And that like really empowers me to know that I've done something. It's a huge goal to have achieved in the first place, just finishing the marathon. So for C, obviously, it's finishing my first marathon. For B, it's faster than whatever I did in London. And for C, I would love to be sub 4 at the New York Marathon in my dream world, which I've like calculated out. I've like done the calculation of like when I have elevation and where my miles can like shift and where I'm allowed ebb and flow. On all my marathons, I have positive split, which like my second half has been slower than my first half. So I think that's another like smaller goal for me in this marathon, is to try to reverse that and try to have a negative split in the marathon, which isn't as much of a time thing as it is just like
An execution.
An execution, exactly. And I think too, as I'm running marathons, I have no doubt there will be more beyond New York. And so it's kind of just like taking whatever lessons I can get with every marathon and saying, you know, okay, I think I've got my fuel in check now. Hopefully, I got to figure out. I feel like I'm somebody who likes to eat something at mile 13. Do you eat during the marathon or do you just run on gels?
I will run on gels for marathons and for like half Ironmans, and I'll have solid food when I do something longer.
Like an ultra or like a full length iron.
Yeah.
So I feel like in London, I got, because of like the issue with like having not taken enough, and then I just think overall I didn't take enough that whole day. I've learned that it's like 60 grams per hour, which I was not taking.
Which seems like a huge amount to someone who's not used to like basically having a liquid sachet of sweets on the go.
Exactly.
Which, when you think about it, having basically, whether it's in gel form or some sweets or a granola bar or a banana, having sweets every 30 minutes
is crazy.
Is really crazy.
Yeah. And so I've switched over to Scratch gummies, which is like what I'm going to try for New York. I did Cliff my first round. I tried Cliff, and that Cliff is the one that didn't work. So I took Martin's for the second half of London. And then now I'm going to try Scratch just because I like the chewable. I think it feels easier than a gel, and I think it's better on my stomach. So we're going to try and see how my Scratch gummies go. But so with those, I have to eat 5 every 20 minutes, which feels very often. And so that's the hard part, but it's something that I've learned from the last one, where it's like, I think I was missing my fuel, and then I missed eating my granola bar on top of not having enough fuel. And that made me just feel a little more shaky during the run.
I do think that like so much of like a marathon is a very long way to go.
Yeah.
And breaking it into like smaller chunks can be like a very good way to like distill it into something that feels like mentally achievable.
Yeah.
And for me, that is, I need to get, I have a gel every 7K.
Yeah.
I need to go 7K and have a gel. And then I need to go 7K and have a gel. So I only need to ever think about 7K. And for you kind of going 20 minutes and having your gummies, like you actually only need to think about 20-minute chunks, looking after yourself, checking in with yourself, having your fuel. And actually, before you know it, you've run out of sweets. Yeah. And you're like on the final 20 minutes to the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. That's a really good point. Yeah, I feel like it's exciting for New York because I mentally am thinking about the boroughs. I'll do 1 of 5 every time. You know, like it's like I'll do my 3 miles here and my 6 miles here. Yeah. And before you know it, you're going to be 2 boroughs left. And that's almost the home stretch.
Yeah. When you get to Central Park, you can taste that you're getting to the end.
Yeah.
One of the things you said before we dove into recording was, and I think it's very courageous, saying and putting it out there of like really what you would love to do in a dream world.
Yeah.
You said you're not sure whether you want to run for fun or like really go for it.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's something that's really interesting to like unpack, because what do you mean by run for fun? And I think like anyone listening at home can resonate, because they'll say it all the time and I'll say it as well. But like, I want to hear it from you. What do you mean by wanting to run for fun?
I think there's a part of me that worries about my goal and the potential of not achieving it hurting the overall view of the day. And so when I want to run for fun, I'm thinking like care a little less maybe, because I feel like I care a lot about the marathon. I care a lot about doing well. I care a lot about, like, I've worked so hard to get to this point that it almost, it's going to sound like giving up when I describe this, so bear with me. But I feel like there's even a point of like just like running at the pace that's comfortable and hugging my family when I see them and not worry that that's going to ruin my split a little bit. And if I feel like cheering back to the people, because I feel the same way where I have for sure thought about putting my name on, or not putting my name on. And I usually do not, because then I know if someone cheers, I'm like, oh, you know what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
So I sometimes feel like I don't want to give up on, like, some of those are like some of my favorite moments from the marathon that I remember in Honolulu and in London, was like looking at the crowd and like living in this moment with them. And for some reason I get fearful that having tunnel vision on my goal and being like, I'm running 9-minute miles for every single mile, and I'm going to push myself and I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to put the work in. And when I'm hitting the wall or when I'm in my dungeon of doom, I'm going to stay there and I'm going to let that grit get me to the finish line. I can't tell if the weight of doing a sub 4 will outweigh the opportunity of like having felt like I missed living in the moment of running the New York Marathon. And so I feel like that's been like the mental challenge that I've been like, how do I do both? How do I achieve my goal and let the crowd energize me to get to that pace without feeling like I missed the opportunity to like experience them on that day?
Imagine you're at 20 miles.
Yeah.
And you're fighting. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But you're doing it. You're on track for your goal. Hearing someone cheer you on is going to help.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel amazing from that.
Yeah.
If you're at 20 miles and you've intentionally chosen to not take the risk, not go for your hard, ambitious goal, and instead run for fun, which probably translates to running, as you said, at a more comfortable pace.
Yeah.
And
running at my conversation pace, you know?
Then when you get cheered on at 20 miles, you'll be really grateful to be cheered on because it's nice and you kind of feel amazing and you connect with that person, but you're okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what it is by choosing to like run for fun is actually choosing not to run hard. I think it's like by running really hard, you risk it not going perfectly to plan, because like an ambitious goal inherently is a risk. It may well be just beyond the edge of what you can quite handle.
Yeah.
But you need to get to that place and take that risk and go right up to the edge to like have a chance at your best performance. And by enduring that hard for 42 kilometers is extremely satisfying. Whereas running a marathon will always feel satisfying, even if we did it at a comfortable pace, because it's still super impressive. But we'll get slightly less satisfaction from it. And so I think by choosing to like run for fun, you're almost like
giving up before you start.
Giving up on having the maximum amount of satisfaction, which is almost more rewarding than the fun. Mm-hmm. But to do that, you have to endure more pain.
Yeah.
And which is why I think it is more courageous for you to stand on the start line and go for the ambitious A goal.
Yeah.
And probably in reality, you will, on the scenario where you don't quite get it and you're disappointed and you're like, well, maybe I could have just run for fun. I still think you'll end up with less satisfaction.
If I would have run for fun.
If you ran for fun than if you run ambitiously and don't quite hit your A goal, but still do your very best.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you don't need convincing.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be going for the ambitious goal nonetheless. Like, I think, there's just a part of me that's just, it's always a little scary. You know, like it's whether it's like what you see on your Runna or your Strava or your predicted time. I feel like I like just get a little nervous that it's like, I just want to let myself down. Not that making me emotional, but like, it just... Yeah, like you work so hard and you train to this point that it feels like, and truly when I'm like, I'm just going to run for fun and live in the moment and enjoy the day. I think that's like my way of like slightly trying to cope with the fear of putting it all out there and still not achieving your goal.
But by doing that, we definitely don't achieve the goal. That the only way to take it on is to put the cards on the table and take that risk.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I don't want to tell people that they should never run a distance and not put it all out there on a race.
Always run a distance and put it all out there on the race. That's what we're saying.
Well, I think it's like, given that that's what you want, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the course makes sense or for whatever reason, it's still amazing to go out there and complete a distance.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be very exciting to see how you get on.
Yeah.
What's like the biggest piece of advice you'd give yourself looking back to your training for Hawaii?
Oh my gosh.
What would you tell yourself?
Girl, do a leg workout. That's what I would have said. Do a squat every once in a while. I feel like that has changed the game for my running. But on like a more like actual serious note, I feel like she would want to hear that like she could do it and like don't let herself. She never quit early, which I'm really proud of her for. The Anna that was a year ago doing these runs. But I feel like she always like she sat with it's so funny. She sat with the same amount of question in my brain too. And I'm 2 marathons later, still sitting here like, can I do it? And so it's almost like a empowerment that I have to give to myself now of just don't be afraid of like the unknown. I think that's like my biggest fear in a marathon. I'm not sure if you like I'm sure you feel this way too, where it's like there's a risk with every run. You don't know what's gonna hurt, what ache and pain is gonna happen, or you know. And
I think that's also what makes running
so
is
exciting.
That we're all feeling the same thing. We may well get stronger at running, but the goalposts probably move at the same pace. That we never feel any more guaranteed of how we're going to feel during the marathon. We never know how it's going to go, and that risk is the scary thing, but also the excitement when it all comes together.
Yeah.
Well, we're very excited to see how you get on.
Yeah.
And a very huge good luck.
Thank you.
We're going to segue over to Steph for our coaching tip of the week.
Hey guys, today's top tip is on your interval sessions. Interval sessions develop your speed and power. It's short, fast rest with recoveries in between that train your body to handle higher intensity. Don't go all out on your first rep, otherwise you'll struggle to maintain consistency between the reps. Aim for nice, even splits.
Thank you for that, Steph. So bring it back. We're going to come into a little bit of a dilemma, myth section.
Okay.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think discipline or motivation matters more when you're chasing your goals?
Ooh. Interesting. I think motivation. I think if you have like a good reason for it, I think that discipline, I think is the act of consistency, but I think motivation is the heart behind it. And so I would say motivation. As in the motivation is what leads to your consistent discipline. Oh, I thought you meant like you have a good motivator to get to good discipline. I think of it like that, where like if you have something that's motivating you to get there, that is better than discipline. Because I think like when you're disciplined, it's you can wake up and go into your workout and have consistency, but you might not be pushing yourself to your maximum limits. If you have something that's motivating you to get there, then it's going to give you that more. As in like you could be disciplined and go through the motions, but it doesn't mean the same as having a real reason why that means you get 100% out of the session. Totally. Yeah, I think like having the heart is what makes the difference. And what is your motivation? Not missed out potential and making myself proud and make my family proud too. And so really finding what you're capable of. Yeah. And what would you love to find? Like imagine in 10 years, like. Actually, I actually know exactly what I want to find in 10 years because it's also closer than 10 years from now. I like deep down have this really, really niche dream, which I don't know how I'm supposed to get from this point to that point. I would love to be an Olympian. Wow. I'd love to be an Olympic triathlete. That is epic. All right. Like that's like, it's so random, but like for some reason there's something in my like being that I'm like, I think I could do it. And you have your half Ironman that you're training for beyond New York? Have a half Ironman and a full Ironman that I'll have after next year. Wow. So I feel like that's like me. That's like the further distance for the Olympic tri that really felt like after I did that race, I like just something spoke to me about it where I was like, this could be my bread and butter. The half Ironman, the full Ironman is kind of like, this is another chance, almost like the marathon, to prove to myself that it's like, you're capable, you're so strong, you can get through hard things, you can do hard things. How scary does it feel now that if we were to get you to cycle 112 miles before the New York Marathon, do you think you could do the New York Marathon yet?
Like, do you think you have the endurance to be able to do the 2 coupled together?
Not at the pace I want to,
Mm-hmm.
but I think to finish, yes. Yeah. I'm not as good at cycling, funny enough. Like, that's actually my weakest of the 3. It doesn't come the most naturally to me.
Tell me about, you told me before we dove into it, but tell me about, when did you first start pedaling?
Pedaling?
You might not ride a bike, but what?
Oh, on my unicycle, when did I start pedaling? Guys, sophomore year of high school, very pivotal years of my life. I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the first time I rode a unicycle.
And just because it was fun?
Because it was fun. I think actually like deeper than that, it was Christmas of 2013 maybe. And I had seen this video on YouTube of a girl in a unicycle dance competition. Okay. Prime age of YouTube, mind you.
Yeah.
So this is like, this girl was in a local gymnasium dancing to the like, maybe it was like Stronger or Survivor or something. And she had a full routine. Like she was doing like spins on her unicycle, forwards, backwards, going around the gym. She could jump from the pedals up into the center frame of the unicycle and like ride it still rolling. And I showed my mom the video and I said, I'm asking Santa for a unicycle for Christmas. And I will never forget, my mom got me the unicycle for Christmas. Sorry to spoil that Santa didn't do it, but my mom did. And she pulled me to the side after I opened it and she was like, by the way, if you don't learn to ride it, it's okay. Like we can return this item. And I said, just because you said that, I'm going to learn to ride it even faster. And so.
How hard is it to ride a unicycle? How long did it take to learn?
A week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you sit on it for long enough, it's funny. The first thing you have to learn is just the fact that you could fall in every direction. So sitting on it, like literally holding a wall and just sitting there and like kind of like rocking back and forth is like the first 10 hours of practice. And then I tried to go down my driveway and then one day it just clicked. And I like, you know, when you're riding a bike and your dad's holding the back and he lets go and you're still going, but you have no idea you're doing it. It's exactly what riding a unicycle felt like. You're going and suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, my feet are keeping up with me and I'm still up here. And then from then on out, you just know how to ride a unicycle.
And is there a part of you that like just likes proving people wrong, like proving your mum wrong that you can ride the unicycle?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's like the small part of competitiveness is when someone else says like, I don't think you could do this. I think I also internalize that and I say, can I do this? And so by doing it, it's almost like speaking to the inner part of myself. That's like, you know, it's combating the fear that I'm not capable or that like I wouldn't live up to that expectation.
So does that mean it would be helpful for me to tell you I don't think you can run a sub 4 mile?
No, that would really hurt my feelings.
Okay, I think you can. So we've got a few this or that's.
Okay, I love it. This or that.
Would you rather do all of your training in the rain, but you're allowed to train with friends and family?
Okay.
Or you get glorious weather, but it's always on your own?
I feel like I train right now mostly on my own, except for my long runs. I'll usually have someone, but I don't know that we really talk. I think it's more of just like I like the vibe. So I'm going to say alone with glorious weather, and then I'll tell everybody about it when I'm done.
Okay. I don't know I think I might pick the rain.
You'd pick the rain with friends and family.
I don't know. I think I'm actually quite weak-willed.
Really?
Well, I think I need
40
the support
marathons
of
later.
I like the support of others.
Yeah.
And just like traveling around, like I was in Boston this morning and being in New York today, like it was easier to go out on a morning run in Boston before getting the train to New York by going running with one of my colleagues.
Yeah, that's so true.
But no, interesting. Lucky that we don't have to pick.
Exactly. I love that.
Would you rather run another marathon distance immediately after you finish New York on Sunday? So you finish the marathon and then you have to go and run 42 kilometers more.
Okay.
Or you're not allowed to run on Sunday and you have to do your marathon today. So you run the marathon distance today and you cannot run the New York Marathon. Or you can run the New York Marathon. You get your New York Marathon medal.
I want my New York Marathon.
And then you must run 42 kilometers further.
I'll do it again.
I'll
double down. I think I could. Funny enough, I do. I think like that's for sure where once you're already in it that long, keep going. Have you done an ultra before?
I've done a few.
Yeah.
So Ironman is my like favorite thing in the world. And I would always do at least one a year. And in the COVID time, the Ironman I'd chosen for the year was cancelled. And I didn't really know what to do. I carried on training and just like training because I love training for training's sake. And then I'd do an Ironman again one day. And I think on the day, I decided like a week before, the day of the Ironman that was cancelled, just to run as far as I could.
Okay.
And I'd never ran more than a marathon. And I ran like 3.5 marathons. But I basically started at 4 a.m. in the sunrise. And it was at the time in the UK, you could only run with like one other person or like be with one other person outside.
Yep.
So I just like had a different friend join me for like an 11-kilometer loop in my local park. And each lap I had a new friend join until I had a sore knee and couldn't go any further. But that was my first ultramarathon. Since then, I've done a few others. But but yeah, just as well. Again, you don't need to go and do 2 marathons on Sunday.
Yeah. I feel like I would do the 2 on Sunday just because also I love the energy of just like having the crowd and having the setup. And it's such a bucket list one that like to get to live it twice actually doesn't sound that bad.
Well, you can do it if you fancy it.
Okay, deal.
I think
I'll go right back to the start line after I finish.
I think you'll find that simply by training for an Ironman, you become capable of running an ultramarathon.
Yep.
But maybe you have to go put that to the test once you've done Kalmar in the summer.
Exactly.
Not Kalmar, Copenhagen. Yeah. Okay, final one.
I'm ready.
When doing your Ironman in Copenhagen, would you rather wear goggles for the entire triathlon or trainers? So you have to wear your run shoes for the swim and the bike, or you have to wear goggles for the bike and the run.
Goggles for the bike and the run.
That would, I feel like, you know, like when you've been swimming,
you'll get
and then you get the goggle marks.
Yeah.
How long would they last if you wore them for a marathon?
You would. I don't know if they would ever go away. I would have the bags under my eyes for forever.
It'd be like a tattoo.
Exactly. That's like my Iron Man tattoo would be the goggle marks for forever. But funny. I can't imagine trainers in the water. Also, then no clip-ins.
Yeah.
I think that sounds worse. I think shoes in the water, I would drown.
Yeah.
And I'm a good swimmer.
But imagine how much the goggles would fog up running.
You can't like do a little like cleanup during it?
Maybe that's cheating. That's taking them off, you know. You probably could. But even so.
I would be running with no visibility.
Yeah. I think the goggles is the right choice, but it would be miserable.
It would be.
Well, again, you'd have to.
You'll never know.
Yeah. So our final question.
I'm ready.
Would be for you to design your dream race.
Yeah.
So for your dream race, first of all, you need to think about what sport is it? Is it a run? Is it a triathlon? Is it made up of 3? What is it? How far is it? Where in the world is it? What food and drink do we have at the finish line?
Oh my gosh.
And then finally, who will give you the grand award at the end?
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of tough. I feel like the easiest thing is to pick a destination. Because I feel like I love going somewhere for it.
Yep.
Honolulu and my first Olympic try were both in Hawaii, and I loved that because the water was warm. So it was like the perfect spot to be. I feel like I would probably still pick the Big Island for the race.
Okay.
I almost feel like I kind of got to live my dream race. I would love to do, this might sound silly, but a part of me would love to do a sprint try because I think that's really easy access point and invite all my friends to do it with me.
Okay.
I think that would be like the dream situation. Even if it's as short as Santa Barbara, where it was a 500 swim, a 6-mile bike, a 2-mile run, that's done in around like an hour to an hour and a half. And then we all get to party for the rest of the day in Hawaii in the good weather, warm water on the beach, the food. Big cheeseburgers. Instantly cheeseburgers.
Do you have an appetite when you finish your race?
No. Do you or no? Are you an appetite?
I can eat for Britain. I could eat on the finish line.
Really?
But
so
I'm
nice.
kind of crazy.
No, see, like I dread food. Even like right now, like I'm trying to like lightly carb load this whole week. Like I'm eating like anywhere from like 4 to 5 meals a day instead of just 3. And man, it is hard. I'm just like not, if I didn't have to eat ever again, I kind of would take that. Is that crazy to say?
Wow.
Eating feels like a chore sometimes, you know?
way.
Like it's like, especially when you're eating like just such dense food, I feel like it's just like.
Okay, so basically you need your cheeseburger a few hours once you've got your appetite back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would maybe save my cheeseburger for like, a couple hours later until all my friends
get it in the
finish.
goodie bag.
And then I get it in the goodie bag. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So,
Okay, sure. It's in the race village that you can celebrate, party within, and you can have it when you're ready.
yeah, exactly. Like it's waiting for me.
And do you have a go-to drink?
Oh.
Are you celebrating with cocktails or a chocolate milk?
Oh my gosh. I don't drink alcohol. I would have said like, honestly, virgin pina coladas. We're in Hawaii. I feel like that has to be the moment. It's like, or like sodas, like a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I love Coca-Cola.
And who's giving you the award?
Who's putting
the medal around your neck?
Probably my mother. My mom or my dad. I feel like they're like the 2 people who are very happy to see me like racing and athletic again. I feel like they really lived for that when I was younger. And COVID was such a unique time. Like you said, you couldn't really be with people. I moved back in with my mom and dad, and so did my brother during COVID time. And they had already empty nested and kind of had all the kids out of the house. So when we came back, I feel like it reignited that like youthfulness in our life. And now doing sports and having my parents come and cheer, you would think that we are like still in high school with how excited and like overjoyed they are. And I feel like I feel like I gave them good races in high school. Like I gave them good things to cheer for. We had state champions and we had, like all of our big races. But yeah, there's something about these marathons that makes them feel like very excited, very empowered that I feel like I'd want them to give me my award.
Nice. Well, I'm also sure they'd be up for doing it with you out there, given that they got into it with the 10K as well.
Yeah, they would be out there doing it for sure. My dad is still running. I think my mom is considering running the LA Marathon next year. And so my brother and I might pace her, but in like we're going to walk the marathon with her. So we'll see. She might be a marathoner by next year.
That is amazing. Well, a huge good luck for Sunday. Be brave, put it out there and see what you can do. And I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you today, Ben.
Don't go anywhere. We have an enormous update I want to tell you about of what we've been working on in Runner HQ. The incredible team have been working tirelessly for the last 6 months to completely revamp our new to running journeys. These are plans for people training for their first ever 5K, or if you haven't run a 5K for a very long time and want to return to running again, these are the plans for you. They are completely for free. They are completely revamped. They are now going to be the very best way for anyone to train for that 5K distance. So if that's you, get on the Runner app and train for it today. And if you have a friend that you want to kind of encourage to become one of your running buddies, go and tell them about this big new free launch. And it includes all of the amazing features that you get with the rest of our Runner plans, including adapting around your holiday, meaning that we'll adjust around any missed or skipped workouts, and being able to adapt around things that come up in the real world like illness. Go and check out our new to running plans today.